Did Star Trek already forget about the best gift it gave Worf's family? When it comes to Star Trek's sprawling canon, few characters embody both loyalty and tragedy like Worf, the first Klingon to serve in Starfleet. Across the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, Worf carried the weight of dual identities, a Klingon raised by humans, forever straddling two cultures that never fully accepted him. And in the middle of that conflict stood his family, biological and adopted, Klingon and human, real and found. Over decades of stories, Star Trek often put Worf's honor at the mercy of the Klingon High Council, or tested his ability to live up to Starfleet's ideals. But one gift, one rare act of grace from the franchise, stood out among the political betrayals and personal losses. It wasn't a battle victory or a seat on the council. It wasn't even his brief romance with Deanna Troi or his late, bittersweet marriage to Jadzia Dax. Instead, the best gift Star Trek ever gave Worf's family was something far more human: the restoration of his parents' honor and the acknowledgement that Worf was not alone in his cultural struggle. And yet, in the years since The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine wrapped, Star Trek has seemed to quietly forget about this gift, as though it were a narrative loose end folded into the shadows of canon. With modern Trek revisiting legacy characters, including Worf in Star Trek Picard, it begs the question, why hasn't the franchise honored this crucial piece of Worf's family story? Worf's parents, unsung heroes in a Klingon's journey. From the beginning, Worf's human adoptive parents, Sergei and Helena Rozhenko, embodied Star Trek's central ideal of infinite diversity in infinite combinations. When their son, a Klingon orphan of the Khitomer massacre, was brought into their lives, they didn't just accept him reluctantly. They loved him unconditionally, raising him alongside their other son, Nikolai, on Earth. While Sergei often provided comic relief as the overly proud father eager to brag about his Starfleet son, Helena grounded their family with tenderness. In one sense, the Rozhenkos were classic Trek archetypes, everyday Federation citizens stepping up to embody the future's ideal of acceptance. But in another, they were the emotional bedrock Worf often denied himself. For years, Worf distanced himself from his parents, embarrassed by the softness of his human upbringing. In episodes like Family TNG Season 4, we saw that tension fully. Worf resented his divided life, and yet Sergei and Helena made it clear. They would always be there, Klingon politics be damned. This devotion became crucial when the Klingon High Council implicated the Rozhenkos in Worf's dishonor. They weren't Klingons, but their son's disgrace stained them nonetheless. And this is where Star Trek briefly gave Worf's family one of its rarest treasures: recognition and redemption. The restoration of honor, a Klingon-sized miracle. To understand the magnitude of that gift, we need to revisit one of the most painful arcs in The Next Generation, Worf's discommendation. In Sins of the Father TNG Season 3, Worf accepts personal dishonor to protect the Empire from civil war. The Council falsely condemns him as the traitorous son of Mo, even though it was Dura's father who had betrayed Khitomer. By stepping forward, Worf shields the Council from scandal but loses his good name. For Klingons, that dishonor extended to family. It wasn't just Worf who suffered, the stain touched Alexander, his human parents, even the memory of his late brother Kurn. Worf bore the weight of this injustice with stoicism, but it quietly devastated the Rozhenkos. And then, years later, Star Trek gave something back. When Gowron finally exposed the Duras family's treachery, Worf's honor was restored. The Rozhenkos' loyalty was acknowledged implicitly in this act. In episodes like Redemption and Rightful Heir, Worf's family, human and Klingon, was no longer cast in shame. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a battle or a triumph of strength. But it was perhaps the most important gift of all: validation that Worf's family, across cultures, mattered. Forgotten in the shadows of modern Trek. Here's where things get tricky. With Star Trek Picard bringing Worf back into the fold, fans were reminded of his ferocity, humor, and wisdom. Michael Dorn's older, wiser Worf became a highlight of the show's third season, balancing a pacifist outlook with his warrior instincts. And yet, there was silence where the Rozhenkos should have been. Think about it. Picard Season 3 celebrated legacy family ties across the board. Jean-Luc discovered a son he never knew he had. Beverly Crusher reconnected with her Starfleet pass-through Jack. Geordi LaForge proudly stood beside his daughters, Sydney and Alandra. Even Riker wrestled with grief for his late son while reaffirming his bond with Deanna and Kestra. But Worf? His family story was absent. No mention of Alexander. No mention of Kern's erased identity. No glimpse of Sergei and Helena, who would presumably still be alive as proud Federation citizens. The very humans who sacrificed their own peace for their son's honor were nowhere to be seen. This absence isn't just oversight. It's erasure of one of the richest dynamics in Worf's story. Star Trek gave his family a rare reprieve in the form of restored honor, and then, as the years went on, seemed to forget it even mattered. Why Worf's family matters more than ever. Star Trek thrives when it remembers its humanity. For all the bat'leths and bloodwine, Worf's story is fundamentally about a man navigating belonging. His family, from his human parents to his Klingon kin, is central to that. By sidelining the Rozhenkos and ignoring the restoration of their shared honor, modern Trek risks reducing Worf to just the Klingon warrior, stripping away the nuance that made him groundbreaking. Worf isn't just a Klingon trying to be human, or a human trying to be Klingon. He is both. And the Rozhenkos are proof of that balance. Imagine what Picard Season 3 could have gained by even a brief acknowledgement of Sergei and Helena. A holo call. A message from Earth. A memory of his adoptive mother encouraging him through doubt. These small touches would have reminded audiences that Worf's humanity wasn't just inherited from Starfleet, it was nurtured by family. Where Star Trek could redeem this oversight. The good news? Worf's story isn't over. With Starfleet Academy on the horizon and constant rumors about more legacy spin-offs, Star Trek has opportunities to revisit Worf's family in meaningful ways. Here are a few possibilities. 1. Starfleet Academy cameo. Sergei and Helena could appear as guest lecturers, speaking about raising a Klingon in 24th century Earth society. Imagine the comedic warmth Sergei could bring while offering real wisdom about cultural acceptance. 2. Alexander's redemption. Worf's son Alexander has been one of the franchise's most underutilized characters. His struggles mirrored Worf's own, and his relationship with the Rozhenkos was never explored on screen. Revisiting that dynamic could tie past and present beautifully. 3. Legacy Family Ensemble. Just as Picard reunited the TNG crew, a future Trek series could spotlight Starfleet families. Including the Rozhenkos alongside LaForge's daughters and Crusher's lineage would reinforce Star Trek's emphasis on generational storytelling. 4. A quiet tribute. Even if Sergei and Helena are long gone by Worf's later years, the series could honor them through a monument, a log entry, or even Worf himself reflecting on the values they instill. Conclusion. The gift that shouldn't be forgotten. The restoration of Worf's honor was more than a Klingon political resolution. It was Star Trek acknowledging that families, even the unconventional, interspecies ones, matter in shaping who